Welcome back to Studio F on Fast Times Willie B. We'll be reviewing Lilo and Stitch. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
To Russell.
Welcome back to Fast Times Willie B. I'm Willie B. I've got Ashley with me. Ashley, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So today we'll be doing the latest Disney live-action remake to hit theaters, and that is Lilo and Stitch.
Yes.
I call on you because I know you're a very big fan of the original, the great version of Lilo and Stitch. The animated version is what makes it so great. But today we'll be talking about the live-action one. Director-wise, we have Dean Fleischer-Camp, who also did Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. I was scared I was going to fumble over that. It's quite the movie title there. Cast-wise, Maya Kealoha is the star of the film, playing Lilo. We also have Sydney Agudong and Zach Galifianakis.
Yes.
Is also in this movie.
Who I usually like.
Yeah, same. But we'll start with the good. Where do you want to start?
The good, I would like to say that for the most part, they stuck to the original story. They didn't try to reimagine it in another country or in another, background. They kept true to the Hawaiian culture, and I think that that's extremely important to this movie.
For sure.
I also liked some of the Easter eggs and nods that they did, like having the original voice of Nani also play the social worker.
Yep.
It's a great way to bring back characters who can't fulfill their original role anymore.
For sure. For me, I thought the movie looked good. When you're going to Hawaii, it's kind of hard not to make Hawaii look good.
Yeah.
But, I feel like it captured the island really well. For the most part, I enjoyed our set designs. Like, I like the house. I think that they did a really good job recreating a live-action version of Lilo and Nani's house. So all of that, from the restaurant to the beach scenes, like all of that I thought looked good.
Yeah, I agree.
So I enjoyed all of that. Also in the good, it's tough. It's not that I hated this movie. I will say I've only seen this and Snow White now for the Disney live-action remakes. I know, I'm super behind, but is it the worst thing? This was much better than Snow White.
Sure, and I expected that too.
Yeah. I'm going to put the acting in the good.
Okay, yeah.
I enjoyed our acting. I thought Maya, she did a great job as Lilo. It takes a lot. And when a kid performance is really good, it hits me harder just because they don't have the years of training and the years of experience that somebody like Zach Galifianakis might have.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed the acting for the most part, especially what we get from Lilo and Nani, first and foremost.
Yeah, there's a real relationship there that you can see.
Yeah. I thought they did a good job. I thought the chemistry was good. Honestly, I think the best acting was from the Hawaiian Islanders.
Yes.
I'm drawing a blank on the ant figure's name.
It's like Tootie.
Yeah. I thought she did great as well. She's played by, I've seen her in something before, but I can't think of her real name.
I can't think of her real name either, but she did voice a character in the original as well. So
okay, I thought she was great too. But I don't know, there was others that weren't great, but for the most part, I thought the acting was good. Yeah, especially from our main cast.
Definitely.
Voice acting from Stitch was good too because we got the same guy. So
yeah, you can't complain about that for sure.
But other things in the good.
I thought the music was good for the movie.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
They did a new rendition of Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride, which I thought was really nice, and just the instrumentals and setting the scene, those all worked really well.
For sure, I agree. Music was probably what felt the most like the original. So definitely liked that. Is that it for the good?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Okay, that's fine, because I'm with you. So we're going to hop over to the meh. And like I said, this is things that we necessarily didn't like, but didn't hate either. So probably for me, most of this movie.
Okay.
Is just that meh.
I'll say my biggest meh is Zach Galifianakis.
Okay.
It was so alarming to hear his voice come out of Jamba's mouth.
Yeah.
When I wasn't really prepared for it, like I had seen that it was him as the actor for this part, but I never registered that the voices would be different.
Yeah.
And so the whole time it just felt very like unnatural to me.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Funny thing for me, I didn't realize that was Zach Galifianakis till about an hour into this movie. And I leaned over and I was like, "That's Zach Galifianakis," and you're like, "Yeah." That's on me. And this wasn't just based off the voice. This was live action Zach Galifianakis. I didn't catch on to it until his like 8th scene. But some of us catch on a little quicker than others. He did something that was very Hangover like, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's."
I think just like his presence being in like the nice light linens and like the island wear gives it that Hangover vibe.
But it's funny because the whole time I was watching, I was like, "Who? I know that guy. Who is it?" And then I was like, finally, I was like, "Oh, I'm an idiot."
Yeah. Took you a minute, but you got there.
But I would agree that he's definitely in the meh, because the voice. But I liked him as like when he was himself.
Yeah.
But when he is voicing, that's when I was like, it kind of just throws me off a little bit.
Yeah, it's weird. When you watch a Disney film, Disney banks so much on nostalgia and what you remember growing up with. And so to change something so familiar like that, it's like alarming in a bad way.
Yeah. I thought the guy that played Bleakley did really good, though.
I thought he did a great job, too.
Kind of backtracking to the good, I guess. But I thought he did well. I thought he sounded like him, and I think his... It was kind of, over the top, but I thought it was a fun when he was in human form.
I think it was good too, yeah. His mannerisms and everything just kind of lined up.
For sure. Continuing with the meh, this is probably where I put the special effects. Because I actually thought that Jamba and what's the higher power girl's name?
Oh, gosh.
Like the queen
yes.
figure. I thought they looked good. I didn't think Bleakley looked good when he was in alien form. I thought that was the weakest part of the effects.
I found all of the CGI for Jumba and Pleakley to be a little, like, uncomfortable to look at. There's something about Pleakley's one eye that just looks really glossy.
Yeah, it looks like he needs, like, a contact.
Yeah.
Bad.
It's so weird. But they did such a good job with Stitch, I thought.
Yes, they did. Stitch looked great, too.
But, yeah.
That's why I put the effects in the meh, because there were some really good ones. And then there were just ones that I was like, yeesh.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw effects in the meh. And I just feel like with Disney live action remakes, that's just something you make yourself susceptible to is the effects going here, because it's a tall order to turn a movie that was animated into, and obviously with people you're going to be fine because you just cast people. Yeah. But when you're trying to turn these monsters and aliens and all these other figures and Stitch, like I said, they did a good job with Stitch, but when you're just trying to do all of this, you're leaving yourself vulnerable to a rough CGI effect here and there.
Agreed. I mean, every Disney movie, even something like Cinderella, it's majority humans cast it, have to have those magical CGI moments of like the dress change and everything. So I feel like you're always kind of setting yourself up for a chance to do that poorly.
And Disney uses a lot of animals too.
Yes.
I mean, like Snow White, for instance, the dwarves, there was moments where I thought they looked good, moments they didn't. But the animals sometimes looked weird. Yeah. So you're just leaving yourself open to a little critique there by turning something that was drawn into something that is now supposed to be live action. So effects definitely in the meh. Like I said, this movie was definitely a step up from Snow White. And who knows when I'll ever get to more of the live action remakes that have already been released. I mean, now I guess I might as well keep going when they're coming out. But... this one, I'd probably put the story in the meh.
I was just going to say that, like, meh to bad is where I have the story.
Yeah.
The story is not a complete, reimagining, but it's also not a shot for shot. And I feel like the things that they left out are crucial moments in the original story. Yeah. And to me, it feels like they almost went back and they pulled like a previous script that hadn't been worked through all the way of Lilo and Stitch before the final animated one. And they just went from that. Yeah. Because it just felt like it was missing so many parts. Yeah. And the stuff that was filled in wasn't filling the parts.
It was weird what they picked and chose to roll with as far, because the first 15 minutes is shot for shot.
Yes.
And then they start going off the path, because we get her shoving her friend and the space chase, all of that. We get all of that, and it's basically shot for shot. And then I know there was a scene that you didn't like that was pulled, or that you loved that was pulled. There was a scene that Dylan loved that was pulled. And when you guys were telling me what was pulled, I was like, why did they pull those ones? But they kept, so it was definitely odd choices. But that's why I'm going to throw it in the Med, because there were moments that I like. I mean, even the ending, the ending still got to me. I still teared up. But there was still an emotional presence.
Yeah.
And I think it was mostly because of the acting.
Sure.
From our two leads. But there were some decisions that were made that I'd probably change if I were making those decisions.
Yeah, I think for somebody who maybe hasn't seen the original in a long time, won't pick up as much or won't have as much of an impact from it, but people who are familiar, you're going to notice those things and you're going to say, wow, that doesn't have the same heart, that doesn't have the same character that the original had.
Which is, what is my assumption, because this is getting decent scores. Not great, but it's getting decent scores. And I wonder if it's just maybe people, I don't know.
I think it's getting decent scores, one, because behind Mickey Mouse is Stitch. That's number 2 on Disney characters. So there's a large fan base. But also, I think that since this story is not as altered as some of the previous live actions we've seen, people are asking for that. I mean, the Disney community's asking for no more live remakes, but we still keep getting them. So at least if they can stay on track with the original film, that's what we love. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, it was, and I am seeing some bad reviews. Some people just aren't loving it. I'm in the middle, though. I had moments where I liked it. I had moments where I was like, I'm not feeling this. But for the most part, I never wanted to leave the theater, so that's good,
Yeah, that's always a win.
I was into it. I was watching the movie. I was locked in.
Yeah.
But anything else in the meh?
Just the vibes were meh.
Yes. I would agree with that. Something that really hit me, and I said it in my out-of-theater reaction, these live-action remakes just lack the charm the animated movies have.
Well, and I think that's extremely obvious in Lilo and Stitch, because Lilo and Stitch was made during that experimental period in the early 2000s that gave us Emperor's New Groove and Atlantis and all those. And one of the most striking and beautiful things that people take from the original movie are the watercolor backgrounds. The beautiful watercolor backgrounds, they're light, they flow. It feels very Hawaii.
Yeah.
Feels very Polynesian culture.
Yeah.
And when you just, you see the same palm tree that you can see in Florida, it
loses its...
It doesn't hit the same.
No. It's crazy for me to say that, too, because I've always been a guy that's just enjoyed live-action movies in general more than animated movies. I would much rather watch the Back to the Future trilogy than the Toy Story trilogy. That's just how I've been, and I think all 6 of those movies I just said are great movies. Well, now there's, 4 Toy Stories. I guess it's not a trilogy anymore. That was my point when I was younger. But but when it comes to these Disney live-action remakes, it's not, the remakes aren't doing it for me.
No, it's lacking. And I don't know if it's because we have these expectations of the film to be as good as the originals, and it's never going to be that.
Yeah.
So I feel like in a way they kind of shoot themselves in the foot because they're already setting themselves up to be compared to something that we like.
Yeah. And I just want more originality.
Yeah, a great new story would be
awesome.
Would be fun.
I'm not going to lie. Before we hop to the bad, that latest Alio trailer looked decent.
It did look decent compared to previous trailers I've seen of it.
Yeah.
It looks like it's been reworked a little bit.
So, not saying I have high hopes going into it, but
sure. But I will
we'll check it out. We'll check it out for sure. So we can hop over to the bad. And I think you have more here than me, because I was really in that meh category. So I'll let you kick it off. Where do you want to?
When it comes to the bad, I think that like I previously said, the parts from the original movie that they took away were the parts that mattered most. One thing that people are really noticing is that Gantu, who was the main villain in the first movie, going to kidnap Stitch before Jumba and Pleakley could get there, he's completely erased from the narrative.
Yeah.
And it's just Jumba who is trying to get Stitch at this point.
Yeah.
And that feels almost like...
Wow. They agree with you.
I know. It feels almost like they're cutting out a step. You know, like, for example, Moana, she has 3 obstacles before she gets to the end.
Yeah.
And with this, I feel like they cut out half of the obstacles. Mm-hmm. And so, therefore, it's not as entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing that really hung up on me is I felt like that there were plot holes missing in the film. Mm. You know, when at the end of the movie, when the queen alien is trying to take Stitch back to space, in the original, Lilo says, if you're taking him, you're stealing because I adopted him. He's my dog. Mm-hmm. Provides the proof.
Yeah.
There's no adoption that takes place in the live action movie.
No, they're just kind of...
And so instead she goes, well, don't take him. And then the queen's like, okay, girl, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's things like that don't track, don't add up.
Yeah.
And therefore don't make it feel as serious. It's like, oh, if you ask nicely, she's going to do it. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah. And I know some people are upset too, and I kind of agree. I maybe put this in the med too, but the ending for Nani and how she goes out. I like that they give her the portal gun so she can visit.
It feels
like a cop-out almost, and I wish she would have just, I don't want her to throw her life away, but like in the original, she stays with,
It feels very much like, it feels like they made it that way because they have to make it that way in today's world.
That's fair.
It's frowned upon for somebody to give up their life for a sibling and not follow their dreams. And so I feel like that's a change that they had to make for the world we live in, but it doesn't necessarily reflect well in the movie.
How did you feel about, like, modern language?
I don't love those kinds of references. Yeah. Some of them sprinkled here and there are okay, but,
yeah.
I
was sitting here and I was like, oh. And then I started thinking, like, I wonder if in 2002 they had, like, language that was used back then. And we just didn't really think about it because we were kids.
Yeah. Well, one thing that comes to mind for me immediately, and again, is Moana. They use the line where Maui is writing with hey, and he says, this is called tweeting because he's writing with his beak.
Yeah.
Tweeting is not, that's Xing now, I guess, whatever you want to call it. So even that in the last 10 years has aged to, you won't know what that means.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I don't know. There was a few moments where they used, like, modern lingo, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I get, it is a 2025 movie, so I guess I can't really fault it for that. They're just using what's, And at the end of the day, it is a kid's movie.
It's true. It's true.
Like, some of the humor is going to be more directed towards them than me at 26 years old who's sitting there.
Sure. I can see that. The other big bad that I have to acknowledge is my husband's favorite part of the movie is the scene where Stitch in the original movie is reading the Ugly Little Duckling book and how he gets lost from his family, but he ends up finding the family.
Yeah.
That whole sequence is cut from the movie, and what that does is it cuts another story path. And it cuts a theme out of the movie. With Stitch just not having a family, that's one thing, but for him to feel like the outcast of the family, the one who causes all the trouble, the one who can't do anything right, that's a theme that resonates with people, and therefore I think should have been included in the overall remake.
Yeah. I was really surprised that scene was taken out because that scene has, like, a big pop culture impact. There's a lot of Stitch with the duckling Funko Pops. There's, there's the duckling stuffed animals with Stitch. Like, there's just so many things that have come from that scene specifically.
Yeah.
And then they were just like, we're not going to do that scene. That's another opportunity for money, and they didn't take it. I was kind of surprised. Yeah. Could have made another Funko Pop out of it, but.
Definitely. Definitely. It's just, it's rough in that sense. And one last thing, too, that stood out to me a lot is that this live action movie didn't have those sentimental moments that the original had. For example, when they are surfing, everybody's surfing, and it's like the last time they're hanging out and all that. Ultimately, they have this conversation about how they thought Stitch was really going to work for them and that Nani was getting back on her path. They have this conversation in a hospital waiting room.
Yeah.
because Lilo, she took in some water, she drowned. And in the original, they have that conversation sitting on the beach, and that just feels so much more true to the character and true to the culture and how they would have handled it.
Yeah. I guess one thing I'd throw in the bad, I agreed with everything you've said. I need a bigger Bubbles.
Yeah.
I don't knock the actor, but I need a bigger guy.
He wasn't big enough. No. He looked like he didn't have Cobra on his knuckles. No. You know what I mean?
I need, they should have pulled the guy that played Michael Oher from The Blind Side.
Yeah.
Big,
Definitely, yeah. Somebody who towered over everybody else.
That guy felt like he could have been a social worker.
Yeah. It did.
Terry Crews.
Terry Crews.
That would have been a crazy Bubbles.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day just a cash grab, unfortunately.
It is, yeah. It's a filler. It's a cash grab.
Yeah.
It's, trying to squeeze out every little drop. And unfortunately, people who hate the live action remakes are still going to go see the live action remakes because we hold out hope.
Yeah. Yeah. And just seeing Lilo and Stitch coming in theaters is so nostalgic.
Sure.
You get a sense of you're a kid again.
Especially for us being in that 2002 group, we were 4 or 5 years old.
Yeah, I was 3. I was.
Those are really molding moments.
Yeah, if they make a live action Finding Nemo, it's that was one of the Pixar movies that's Pixar. Yeah, that's Pixar. Yeah. That was one of the Pixar movies I grew up on. Finding Nemo was my shit.
Yeah, it feels a lot different than seeing Cinderella in theaters again.
Yeah, which Snow White, the reason that was the first live action remake to get me there is because I had a babysitter who that was the only tape they owned. And I actually loved the animated Snow White as a kid because I watched it every time I went to my babysitter's house.
Well, yeah, I mean it's a timeless story.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just when you tell people how old that film is.
It's crazy. We're 6 years from it being 100? It's 1931, right?
37.
37? Okay, so we're but still it's,
That's close for it to look as.
It's almost 90.
I think it holds up with.
It does.
With their animated films.
I think a lot of the old princess animated hold up better than the live action remakes we're getting.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
But it is what it is. They're going to keep doing it because we keep going.
I hope, I see, as myself as a big Disney fan, I see Disney go through these eras and these periods of time that we call the Renaissance and the Dark Ages and all that. And I'm hoping that this is just going to be one of those. And at some point we'll come out of it on the other side and we'll have new and original movies to capture the magic again.
Yeah. We can hope, right?
Yeah.
But we can hop over to our final thoughts and ratings. What do you want to leave off with Lilo and Stitch, and what are you giving it out of 10?
I want to leave off with, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Okay. That's the last thing you want to hear as a kid, but... No.
Yeah. That's how I feel. It's the movie on its own is not horrific in any way. No. It's a decent standard movie, but it lacks so much of what you wanted it to that I think that kind of makes it unforgivable in that sense. Yeah. For me, I rate it as a 5 out of 10.
Okay. So we're actually on par with each other.
Yeah.
I was sitting on it for a day. Yeah. I didn't know, but I landed on a 5 out of 10 as well when I logged it. It's just a middle of the road movie. It would probably be higher if there wasn't an animated movie that came before it.
I agree. And I think that's part of the reason I brought it up to a 5. I was sitting at a 4.5 because if you don't have the connection and you don't have the passion for the original film, you're going to watch this and you're going to enjoy it. And you're going to think it's a cute Disney movie.
It's definitely a serviceable film.
Exactly.
But when you're comparing it to the original and you realize that this is just a cash grab, you have to fault them.
Yes.
And it is. And especially when you think of what they took out too. If you would have went shot for shot, this might have been higher than a 5, at that point.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Better than Snow White, at least.
I think, unfortunately, people are just burnt out on the live-action films, and nothing they put out is going to get
I've heard the two I should check out are Jungle Book and Cinderella. I've heard those are the two really good ones.
Those are my two favorites.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I feel like you've told me that before, too, but I've heard those two from multiple sources that are really good live-action remakes.
The Jungle Book does a really great job of being that scene-for-scene capture, and then Cinderella is, the reimagining of the original that we want. Yeah. It has enough changes, but enough similarities.
Yeah. I really like the girl that plays Cinderella, too. She was in the Iron Claw.
Yeah. I don't know her name, though.
Is it Lily James?
Oh, you might be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know it's Lily. Lily Collins, Lily James, Lily something.
I'm not sure.
I feel like Lily Collins is a real person if it's not her. But that's besides the point. But yeah, anything else for Lilo and Stitch before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. I'm still a Lilo and Stitch fan.
That's good.
But I'll just stick to the television series and the 3 other sequels.
There you go. Love it. That'll do it for Lilo and Stitch. Ashley, thank you for coming on. Thank you all for watching. If you like what you're watching, check out some other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. All is appreciated. We'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.